I was going to do a series of videos discussing various nootropics, or nootropics, depending on how you want to pronounce it, doesn't really matter to me. The point is different supplements and micronutrients that enhance cognitive function and brain performance. But the interesting thing to me is the amount of negative feedback I got from the video where I discussed lion's mane. I'm not really sure why there was so much negative feedback from people. I made a point to cite the studies that have been done on humans. I give those studies credit. I think that lion's mane works very well in those populations. In fact, I probably could do an entire video talking about why I believe that lion's mane actually has huge benefits for depression. If we look at, I'll make this really quick here, SSRI medications, one of the things that we believe is the mechanism behind SSRI medication is the increase in BDNF. And that, of course, means an increase in neurogenesis. Therefore, lion's mane appears to be extremely effective in depression, probably due to the same mechanism as SSRI medication, that it increases BDNF, hence it increases neurogenesis, and that's why it's beneficial in depression. But what I realize now is that I actually stepped into a minefield. I had no idea that nootropics was a very controversial hot-button topic. People get very defensive the moment that you say anything negative about any of these things. And I think some of that comes from the fact that we don't want to believe that we wasted our money on something that doesn't actually make a difference. Placebo effect is big, don't get me wrong, but I think many of the various supplements out there being marketed overpromise the effect that they have, and that makes sense because they're being marketed by people who sell them. I don't happen to sell them, so I don't have a reason to tell people how great they are other than to look at the research, objectively tell people, hey, this is what it showed in the study, and then I just share with people that I didn't feel any difference from it. I didn't see any measurable differences either. You know, I've done tons of cognitive testing. I do the dual and back. I don't see any changes. You know, even measuring reaction time, or I like the tap test. That's a great way for you to determine whether or not you're recovered, you know, whether you're an athlete or anything. It gives you an idea of your recovery ability. Maybe you had a bad night of sleep, you have a bad tap test. I like HRV. I've never seen any of the different supplements change my HRV with any consistency at all. So I'm not telling you this because I'm trying to be a downer. I'm not doing a thing where it's like, oh, anyone that takes these things is stupid and, you know, you're wasting your money. I'm just telling you, I don't think that they make a big enough difference. That's not to say they don't make a difference. You know, if you're competing in the Olympics and, you know, you're 200th of a second faster, that's awesome. That could be a gold medal versus a silver medal. But for Chad, the average guy, 200th of a second difference in my 100-meter time is still last place. So, you know, it's like if I took something that made me 50% stronger, I still couldn't even qualify for the Olympics. So it wouldn't make any difference. That's the way I look at those things. Maybe it matters to you. You know, maybe if you took something that made you, I don't know, type 10 words faster, maybe it would make a huge difference for you. For me, that's not a big enough change. I'm not saying that there isn't a change. I'm not saying that there isn't an effect. I just don't feel that the effect is large. And the other thing is, and I'm going to throw this out there, I know that people aren't going to like this, but the reality is there are no free rides. You guys can look it up. Ashwagandha works via the same mechanisms as SSRI medication. You have these 5-HT receptors, and there is a risk that you could develop PSSD from using something like ashwagandha. like, people got upset that I mentioned that lion's mane lowers your DHT levels. Well, yeah, it does. And actually, like, DHT is good for neurogenesis. So it's kind of a weird catch-22 where maybe the lion's mane is making up for that, but at the same time, you're lowering your DHT level. Hey, but maybe you're balding, and maybe that really matters to you. Maybe that bothers you. So, hey, take mushrooms, because it'll lower your DHT level. You guys can look that up. There's plenty of papers on PubMed that are available. Uh, these medicinal mushrooms lower DHT levels. So in any case, I just wanted to address this and say that I had a whole series of these planned. I've decided not to do them because it seems to really upset people. This is a hot button topic. But my overall perspective on these different supplements is that they do work. I'm not telling people that they don't work. I'm just saying that they work in specific contexts, and that I don't believe the impact or the effect is significant in otherwise healthy individuals. So if you're already healthy, you can't get healthier than healthy. Like, the absence of disease is the absence of disease, so you can't get more absent of disease than being absent of disease, right? The same thing I would say for your brain function. If your brain function is already at 100%, like, you're not going to notice huge benefits from things. Even if your brain function is already at 99%, you're not going to notice huge changes. If it's worth it to you and you have the money, by all means. But for me, I don't want to spend money on something unless it makes a huge difference in my life. And I would rather spend my money on a good quality joint supplement than spending my money on some more lion's mane, because it just doesn't make that big of a difference. The joint supplement makes a big difference. Something like curcumin, specifically Mariva. I noticed that really helps. It definitely lowers inflammation. That's worth the money. I have less pain. I feel better. My joints feel better. That's noticeable. It even improves my blood work. So, again, that's something very noticeable. Did I benefit from lion's mane? Maybe so. But it wasn't a large difference, and so it's not a big enough change that it is measurable or noticeable in daily life. And that was really all I was trying to convey. But obviously people get very defensive about that for some reason, and I'm not quite sure. But if you guys understand why the, nootropic community gets very defensive about certain things, go ahead and comment below. I'd actually be interested to understand this better. It kind of comes off to me like the vegan and carnivore and keto communities, where people are really diehard about these things, and they get very upset if someone says something that, I don't even want to say it's critical, just simply doesn't match what they want. And then people get very upset about this stuff. But I'm not diehard about anything. Like, I don't think that there's any supplement out there, well, it kind of goes without saying, that you need to take, because supplements are supplemental. So I don't really feel like there's anything that's essential other than, maybe vitamin D for people, because a lot of us don't live at latitudes where we can get adequate sunlight, if you live in Minnesota, for example. But otherwise, most of your nutrition should be coming from foods, and so supplements are supplemental. And if you notice a benefit, that's awesome. Like, I think it's great. If you have a condition where these things make a big difference for you, then by all means, people will tell you, oh, I take, magnesium and it gets rid of my muscle cramps. Or I shared in another video that I take NAC and it helps with my migraines. And that's something that matters for me. But like, if you don't have migraines, will it improve your non-existent migraine? Not really. I don't think so. And that's the point that I was trying to convey, is that in research it didn't appear to do anything for the healthy people, but it definitely helped. And you can see it, especially in the study on depression. They had the postmenopausal women with depression, and that made a big difference. So, like I said, I believe that it works. I'm flat out saying it worked. But I'm saying it worked for these very specific situations and didn't have any additional effect on like otherwise healthy individuals. I mean, I don't think anyone wants to have depression. So I think it would be great if you have depression and lion's mane resolves that for you. There you guys have it. I hope that that was clear. I'm always disappointed whenever people get upset by something. I'm not trying to upset people. I'm not one of those YouTubers who tries to post controversial things and get, angry responses for attention. I really just try to be as objective as I possibly can, and I just want to convey good quality information. So